Hello and welcome everyone to Awakening Spiritual Intelligence. The theme for today is trust. I'm Pauline, I'll be our tech host, and I will hand it over to Yosi.
Thank you. Thank you, Pauline, for all you do. That I can trust, I can show up and things will work and amazing, amazing. Uh, so welcome and thank you all for joining us. Thank you for taking the leap, being here, showing up. Obviously involves some level of trust, some trust in myself in life and yourself that you can learn and get something out of this. So obviously you have some level of trust already, and let's see if we can build on that. And the theme for today's spiritual intelligence capacity is trust. And in my research, I identified 22 capacities in total. And over the previous months, we've covered many of them, whether it was love or freedom or joy or beauty or gratitude, all obviously very important and crucial qualities to live a good life, a happy life, a meaningful life, a life of connection and contribution. But while all of them are important, I believe that trust is really, in a sense, if I could say, the most important or most foundational, because it is the ground from which all other qualities can emerge. When we lack trust, it's going to be hard for us to open our hearts and share, give, and receive love. We're going to be contracted. It's going to be hard for us to open to experience life in its fullness, our emotions. It's going to be hard to live in the lightheartedness of joy and freedom. So, in that sense, trust is really foundational for many of SI's, the spiritual intelligence capacities we are trying to cultivate and work on and develop in ourselves. And as I said, at least to some measure, we all have some level of trust. Your heart is open, your mind is open, and you're open to be here and receive whatever messages and exercises life may offer to you. So, and since we've all been hurt by life, we've stumbled, we've fallen, we've felt betrayed, whatever. Our needs weren't attended to as we wanted or needed or deserved, but somehow we recovered. And as we recovered from those things, that's kind of how trust is built. And we've gotten up and we've opened up to life again. So here we are. And at least I am enjoying this moment and appreciating the present of your presence and your attention. So as they say, fall 7 times, get up 8. That's resilience. And that's essential for life. It's essential for our ability not only to survive, but to recover from our setbacks so we can rise up again and thrive. So, trust is a big word, and I'm talking about it as if it's a one thing, but it's really a multidimensional, multifaceted thing which impacts all of our relationship. First and foremost, our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with other people in our lives, the people we come in contact with, interact with, whether it's at work, family, friends, and then our relationship with life in general. And starting with ourselves, trusting ourselves is the foundation of self-worth and a sense of agency, the belief and confidence in ourselves that our initiatives and our actions are not futile, that we can prevail, we can succeed, we can realize our intention and realize our goals, that we can have a positive impact. That's confidence. And that trust in ourselves fuels our motivations and energizes our actions. Without such, we would fall into despair and hopelessness and meaninglessness. And so it would be hard, without it, it would be hard to motivate ourselves and keep going in the face of life's inevitable challenges. So trust really fuels our hope, our initiative, and our sense of agency and willingness to take on new challenges as we go through different stages of life. And I know all of you and all of us have gone through different stages. So now I said trust fuels hope. Pauline may disagree with me. Some Buddhist philosophers believe that hope is a defense. I beg to differ, but regardless, I trust you will take my words with a grain of salt and do with them as you see fit. But let me just clarify what I mean by hope. And as I'm going to cite this quote, hope is not the conviction that something will turn out well, but the certainty that something is worth doing no matter how it turns out. So I think the person is speaking about hope here, but I think the same really notion applies to trust. So with trust, we can take on our actions, our initiatives. We're never certain about what will come out of it, but with trust, we have that foundational faith that it's worthwhile doing and something good will come out of it. And with trust, we can reach out for the stars so that when we fall and fail, we will fall on the moon, which is not a bad place to fall. Uh, as somebody else said, James Allen, self-trust is the essence of heroism. Whenever we take on something that seems bigger than our capacity, we're really relying on our trust in ourselves. And in that sense, it is the essence of all heroic action, if you will. So far I'm talking about trusting ourselves. Let's talk about trusting others, which I think is also crucial. As human beings, we are relational, we're social beings, we need others. So we need to trust our colleagues at work, on teams. We need to trust our intimate partners, our friends, our family. Otherwise, we can't really have healthy, functioning relationships. And we have to trust that those people can be counted on to do what they say, and they will honor our agreements. They will hold their end of the bargain. Otherwise, why would we want to be in relationship with them? And without relying on others, we would have to do everything ourselves, be it at work or at home, and that would be lonely and depressing life. Yes. So at this moment, I hope you're enjoying being here with other people, and uh, soon we'll put you into a breakout room with someone, and you will see how you can trust them and open up and reveal and deepen your connection. And we build trust kind of gradually in ourselves and in others. It's a process. It's an exercise. It's a muscle we exercise. And that works for ourselves and with others. So far I've talked about trusting ourselves, trusting others. And then there's the big trust in life, the universe. Let's face it, the future is unknown. And as it's been said, if you want to make God laugh, tell them your plans. But in life, we have to take some big initiatives, some big risk, whether it's going back to school or quitting a job or moving into a different chapter in life, whether it's retirement or a new career. I took that leap from being a CEO to going back to school and becoming a psychologist to reinvent my life. I'm sure each of you has reinvented your life at one stage or of another, and we never really knew or could control the future that's going to be coming our way and how things are going to turn out. So, since we can't control the future and we can't be certain, uh, we have to trust. As Angeles Arrien tells us, the opposite of trusting the unexpected is trying to control the uncontrollable. So, we have to trust that these unexpected things that are going to come our way will somehow work out. Otherwise, we would try and control that future, which is not controllable. Obviously, we've all discovered. Try as we might, we never control the future. We can't even control our our thinking. So, how can we expect to control the future or control life or control other people, control our partners, control our family members? So ultimately, when we can't control, we have to trust and to let go and relax our grip of whatever we may be holding on for dear life before we can reach for something new, something better, something more fitting. And that all requires trust, trust in ourselves, trust in life, trust so we may let go and go into the flow, let go of the past so the future that is awaiting may be born through us. As Andre tells us, you can never cross the ocean until you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. And as I indicated earlier, in relationship to ourselves and our emotions and our experiences in life, we have to trust ourselves in order to open ourselves to feel our feelings, feel our experience in the moment. Can I trust myself so I can allow myself to feel my sadness, to feel my grief at the loss of whatever is ending in my life, without the fear that I will be swallowed up into the black hole of depression that I will never come out of? Can I trust myself to feel my anxiety, which might actually be motivational? It's going to prompt me to be cautious, to take right action without getting paralyzed by fear. Or can I trust myself to feel my anger without the fear that I will act in a way that I will later regret? So, can I trust and be open to see and receive the truth? Else, we bury our heads in the sand, which really doesn't keep us safe. Sooner or later, reality catches up with us. So when we don't feel the sadness and the grief, actually, that's when we go into depression. When we repress our anger, we repress until it explodes in a non-healthy way. So, opening ourselves to our experience, to life, requires that trust, our resilience, our capacity to hold these experiences. So, and as I said, when we don't, then we resort to repression. And as we repress and depress those unwanted feelings, we become depressed over time. And instead of life's energy flowing freely and spontaneously through us, it gets jammed and blocked. We lose our vibrancy, we lose our aliveness. And again, trust is essential for the flow and fullness of life. So, you might be wondering right now, if trust is so essential, why is it so hard to come by? So let's talk a little bit about the process of developing and losing trust. So I'm going to do a little psychoeducation here before we move to some of our exercises. So according to the preeminent developmental psychologist Erik Erikson, which has looked at the life process of humans and the development stages, and the first stage of life he calls that is developed in the first 18 months of life has to do with trust and our sense of safety and how our basic needs are attended to by our primary caregivers through feeding, nurturing, holding, touching, determine whether we develop a trusting and hopeful attitude toward life, that the universe, that life is a welcoming place. As Einstein actually said, one of the most fundamental questions is do we live in a friendly universe that's benevolent, or is it a universe ruled by a malicious devil, and it's dangerous and everything's going to end up terribly. So uh, but obviously when we come into the world, we're coming in with pure openness and purity and innocence, and how life and our primary caregivers, which define our world, attuned to us, kind of sets an imprint about whether life and this universe is friendly or not, and can we trust life? Can we trust that our needs will be taken care of, that others will be attuned to us, that we can develop, learn, and grow? So that's the first stage, and it relates to the next stage, which Erickson called autonomy versus shame. When we don't get the love and mirroring, when others are well attuned to our moods, wants, and needs, and reflect back to us that we require as young children, we often unconsciously believe that is our fault, that we are the one that are broken, lacking, deficient in some way. It's kind of paradoxical, but in a way, it gives us a sense of agency. It's better to believe that it is me that's broken, and then maybe I could fix myself, than assume, mom or dad are overwhelmed, or whatever reason it is that keeps them from being attuned and caring for us the way we like to. But basically, since no caregiver can give perfect attunement, most of us end up with some level of internalized shame, some sense of I'm not lovable, I'm not enough, and and it can get compounded, because then we feel shame about our shame, and it kind of we repress it, and that repression robs us the opportunity to work through these feelings that inhibit our ability to experience our whole being. And feeling shame is both an internalized judgment, I am bad, and a social feeling, others don't want to be with me. And I have to hide and I have to isolate, because if they really knew me, they see how deficient I am. And that has a disastrous consequence in our ability and capacity for trusting ourselves and trusting others to open up and reveal ourselves, our authentic self, our vulnerability. So when we expect rejection because we have this internalized shame, we go into hiding from others and not trusting that they will accept who we are. And that tragically brings about the isolation and loneliness we most fear. So, so that's kind of tragic part of the human condition that hopefully we can work on and unwind. And that's what we're gathering here and doing this inner work. Now, Erickson developed these theories a number of decades back, and since then, there's been some further development in psychological understanding, and mapping into Erickson's first two developmental research stages. More recent theories and research focused on what is called the establishment of secure versus insecure or anxious attachment between babies and their primary caregivers, usually their mothers. So, with secure attachment, children gain the complementary set of capacities of both autonomy and the capacity for self regulation, as well as the capacity for bonding, intimacy, and connection. So, when we have that secure attachment, you'll see a toddler kind of willing to walk away from mother. They'll look back to make sure they have that secure base they can come back for refuelment and nourishment, but they can wander the world and explore their capacities, and learn and grow, and so they can venture out in life. But they have that home base they can return to, so they trust the connection. And that all plays out then in later relationships, certainly in intimate relationships, romantic relationships. In fact, I am just about to start some research on spiritual intelligence in relationship and how spiritual intelligence and attachment theory play out for what makes for a satisfying relationship. So that's a whole other topic. But the point is that secure attachment then really impacts our relationship, intimate relationships, friendly relationships, and other relationships. So, secure attachment naturally arises when that primary caregiver is reliable, available, and attuned, so that the young child learns to trust that they have someone to turn to for comfort when needed. And with this greater autonomy, these children display the courage, as I indicated, to take initiative and explore the world. And they have a trusted base to return to. But when the caregiver is not available or unresponsive or misattuned, or because they're overwhelmed or whatever it might be, the child can develop what's called anxious avoidant attachment. They internalize the message that others are not there for them, they can't be trusted. So they focus on being self reliant, quote unquote, being independent. But in reality, underneath it, they are needing and longing for connection underneath it all. And then on the other side, there are people who develop what's called anxious ambivalent attachment that have difficulty being vulnerable and trusting others in themselves. And that happens when the caregiver is inconsistent. Sometimes they're attuned and available, and sometimes they're not. And that could be very confusing. So if their caregiver in general is not available, then people go into this avoidant island in some terminology. And then if they are inconsistent, children tend to become anxious ambivalent, or what Stan Tatkins called being a wave. They kind of come and go because they don't know if it's going to be reliable uh, anchor for them. So someone with secure attachment is anchored in their depth. They have an anchor. So even when the surface of the ocean is wavy and stormy, there is an anchor that keeps us grounded and rooted in our essence. And so we are stabilized. So anyway, that's all psychoeducation. And so then you're wondering, okay, so what if I or you or anybody was raised in an environment that was not conductive for secure attachment for whatever reason? Well, first of all, you're not alone. About over half the population struggles with insecurity, uh, with insecure attachment. So, but fortunately, there's hope. Trust can be developed, and attachment wounds can be repaired through a relationship with a reliable therapist or a partner or a spiritual teacher. So if you haven't found a reliable therapist or partner, there are tools and practices available for developing secure attachment with the divine, a spiritual figure, a teacher, or even an internalized parental figures. So there are these secure attachment meditations. The amazing thing about our human brain is that we can rewire it just by revisualizing certain things. There are meditations that have been developed. I'm trying to remember the person. He was on the faculty at Harvard. He was a Theravada Buddhist teacher. Maybe Pauline, you remember his name. Um, Something Brown. At any rate,
Dan Brown.
Dan Brown, that's it, Dan Brown. So he developed these meditations that just by visualizing yourself as a child with an attuned parental figure can rewire the brain and give it the message, okay, there is attunement to me and my needs can be met. So that's an important tool to develop uh, trust in ourselves and in life when we have missed those experiences early in our lives. So now healing these wounds can be a a long process. You can't just do this meditation for 1 week and you're healed. But I do know some personal friends that have done that over a consistent period of time, and they have reported that it really dramatically affected their relationships. So if that's something you're interested in, you might want to explore it. Now, in my own life, I think of my grandfather, actually, who often repeated the ancient Hebrew sages' phrase, which is kol akuva letova, which means every mishap is for the good. So he had what you might in religious language called faith, which is, related in some variant of this notion of trust. And so whenever he would face some difficult obstacle, he would basically say, okay, this mishap is actually for good, even if I don't know if and how it is. He would reframe the difficulty into an opportunity. Now, his name was Sason, which in Hebrew means joy. And amazingly enough, he never ceased to radiate delight and happiness. And he would radiate joy despite having had a very difficult life and hardship and many traumas, including escaping anti-Semitism around Second World War, fleeing to Israel as a refugee, losing his business, his homes, everything. His son was put in jail, my uncle, and all he came is had to start over in tents with a bag of clothes. And so his memory continues to inspire me to trust that I'll find blessings in life's inevitable difficulties. So, what I'm trying to highlight is trust, like any SI capacity, can be developed, and it's a muscle that can be exercised. And we trust ourselves with small steps. So, like working out, we start with 1 or 2 push-ups and work our way up. Now, in my mother tongue of Hebrew that I grew up with, the word for trust is emunah, which sometimes also translated into faith. And emunah shares root with another Hebrew word called imun, which means practice, and also with the word oman, which means artist. So what this is trying to highlight is and points to that trust is an art form that can be developed through practice. So now trust may all sound and feel nice, but it actually has many bottom line benefits that have been scientifically validated. In a Harvard Business Review article on the neuroscience of trust, Paul Zak research indicates that compared with people with low trust companies, people at high trust companies have 74% less stress, 106% more energy at work, 50% higher productivity, 13% fewer 6 days, 76 more percent engagement, and 29% more satisfaction with their lives, and 40% less burnout. So this culture of trust yields positive results at every level of management in business or in our life. And what Dr. Zak found is that when we are trusted and when we trust others, oxytocin levels in our body increase. So oxytocin is the neurotransmitter of love. So it's called the love hormones. It's the neurotransmitter that mothers and babies release during moments of attachment, like breastfeeding or comforting touch. Oxytocin is also released during lovemaking between two adults, or more routine empathic connections between friends and colleagues. So that's why it's called the love hormone. It warms and opens our hearts, and it feels good. So, and there are many spiritual practice, like in the Buddhist tradition, there's loving kindness, metta practice of wishing well to ourselves and radiating goodness to others, or compassion, and all those release oxytocin and improve our heart rate variability and other such metrics. So this has all been studied and scientifically. So while we can't change our oxytocin directly at will and other people's oxytocin level, we can create an atmosphere that fosters trust by trusting others and being trustworthy ourselves. And when we see and mirror other people's positive qualities and empower them, our colleagues, our family, our friends, our children, we feel validated and affirmed and being trusted, we tend to trust in return. And when we're trusted, when the expectations are positive, then we rise up to the occasion and we fulfill those expectations in a positive way. And as we succeed and grow and we thrive, we become more trustworthy. So, our sense of trust in ourselves, our belief in our colleagues, friends, and families, and our confidence in life play a crucial role in our approach to every moment. Are we battling alone to survive in a dog eat dog world, or are there others we can lean on, as we had in the song in the beginning, lean on we and on me? And where can we find safety and support when danger and threat are real? Do we have people in our world, in our life, in our environment that we can rely on? So we need to discern and trust our judgment, confident that things will work out, even when we can't know the exact outcome. So now it's no surprise that the word confidence in Latin derives from confidential, meaning trust. So trust and confidence are highly linked. So we can't continue this or end a thing without another Einstein quote. So, who said, "It's better to believe than to disbelieve. In so doing, you bring everything into the realm of possibility." And in my spiritual intelligence research, one of my interview subjects said, "Love is stronger than hate, and life is stronger than death, and there's always renewal, always renewal." I got to experience this personally last week. I was hiking with my son and camping in Mammoth Lake in California and Sequoia and going through Yosemite. And there are these areas that were just ravaged by fires, and it was all mostly black. But amazingly, you just see life sprouting again. And life's resilience is just amazing. I know I pull out the weeds in my driveway in the cracks, and they come again, even when my gardener sprays it out. So life is just amazingly persistent and resilient. So it just comes back. It just comes back. So, one of the more inspiring quotes on trust that I have seen is this that was written on the wall in a ghetto in Nazi Germany. "I believe in the sun even when it is not shining. I believe in love even when I feel it not. I believe in God even when he is silent." It could be he or she or they, whatever pronoun you want to assign to our true nature, the divine. So amazingly, people in the most horrific of conditions could express their trust. And I think that's what enabled some of them to survive. People like Viktor Frankl, who found meaning in the midst of such horror. So I trust I have talked more than I need to, probably, but you're still here, so thank you. And we are going to move to an exercise shortly, and Pauline and I are going to demo it. And
Yes,
thank
looking
you for
forward.
all the latecomers that I'm seeing some familiar faces here. Thank you. So,
Okay,
Pauline,
we move into the exercise demo, and then we are going to go to breakout rooms. And yes, feel free to message me if you're not able to join the breakout rooms, no problem. We can tell you how long it's going to be when we're actually ready to start if you want to hop off for that amount of time and then come back. But you're welcome to listen to the demo and follow along with this now as well. Okay, so I'm going to pull up our instructions. And just so you know, I will also be pasting all of these instructions into the chat. So when we go into the breakout rooms, you'll also be able to scroll back and read the instructions. And Yossi, I believe you're going to be sending your voice through to the breakout rooms as well, letting people know when it's time to switch to the
Yeah,
new.
I'll be the timekeeper,
Okay.
assuming you're going to join one of the breakouts, given the odd number. We'll see how that works.
Yes.
Hopefully, I won't get confused with the timer, but
Or if you do, I trust it will all work out
it
perfectly.
will work out. Okay, thank you.
All right. So first, you will be placed into a breakout with one other person, and you'll have a minute each to introduce yourselves. And then we'll move into the first question or exploration, which is whoever chooses to go first, you will be exploring your level of trust in life in general on a scale of 0 to 10. And here's our scale, where 0 meaning you have no trust at all in life. It feels like it's going to hell in a handbasket. And you can then pick a number from that all the way up to 10, which is that you feel life is robust and everything does always work out in the end. So just use your intuition, whatever comes first to your mind.
Works out and works out for the best.
Exactly. Works out for the best, not just works out. Yeah. So you'll have about 3 minutes to tell your partner where you rate yourself on this scale. And also, you're going to explain why you rate yourself as whatever number you choose. Let's say it's 5. You get to explain why you chose 5 and not the higher number, 6 in this example. And also why you chose 5 and not something lower than that. So, do you want to add anything to this question explanation, Yossi?
No, I think you're doing great. And yeah,
Yep. Great. And we'll switch then after person A or whoever
yeah,
goes
just
first.
one thing that you brought up when we were reviewing this is like, so as you go through this exercise, you might or might not shift your number. You might say initially your thing is 5, and then you say, oh, it's 5 but not 6 because of this, but it's 5 but not 4 because of that. Well, actually, then I think about it, maybe it's more like 6 or 7 or 3 or whatever. So just trust the process. Our trust level shifts throughout different moments, different moods, and just allow it to be as it is. So you're not trying to do anything to change it, but just follow the process and see where you are.
Exactly. And do we want to demo this step before we continue with the explanation?
Um, if you think we need to, if people
Pretty
think,
straightforward, right?
huh?
Pretty straightforward, maybe.
I think so.
Okay, so one person will go through their explanation, 3 minutes will pass, and then Yossi's voice will come on and say, okay, now switch. So the other person gets to rate your trust in life and go through the questions as well about why you chose that number. And then after those 3 minutes, it will be time to switch to the first looping sentence completion. So for these 4 minutes, if Yossi and I were partners, we would go back and forth. So we can demo this one right now. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, so I'll be person A since my name is first alphabetically. That's sometimes an easy way to just pick who goes first. Um, so if I had a little more trust in life, I would take a bold next step in my business.
Thank you. If I had a little more trust in life, I would be more relaxed about my work and not try and accomplish so much so quickly and just feel more spacious.
Thank you. If I had a little more trust in life, I would collaborate more and not try to do it all myself.
Thank you. If I had a little more trust in life, I would be more vulnerable in my relationships with others.
Mm. Thank you. If I had a little more trust in life, I would speak my truth more often without fear of how others would receive it.
Thank you. If I had a little more trust in life, I would do the same. I would speak more vulnerably and my truth, even when it's not popular.
Thank you. So let's pretend that was 4 minutes. So once again, Yosi's voice would come through the speaker and say it's time to switch to a different scale. And now we have it written here so the other person can go first this time, person B. And this time you're rating your trust in yourself rather than in life. So on this scale, 0 representing that there's no trust in myself, I am not reliable at all, and I can't really cope with life challenges, all the way up to a 10, which represents I can roll with the punches, even when it seems overwhelming. I am confident I will eventually figure things out and land on my feet. So the same questions for this one. What is the level you choose on the scale, and why is it that number and not a higher number and not a lower number? So one person goes for 3 minutes, and then again, we switch. So after those two readings, we're going to go again to a looping sentence completion, very similar, but just this time trusting in myself. So now person B can go first. Would you like to demo this, Yosi?
Yeah, if I had a little more trust in myself, I would be more calm and worry less about getting the things done that I need to, trusting that things will work out. And
Thank you. If I had a little more trust in myself, I would feel more relaxed in my body and feel more spontaneous.
thank you. If I had a little more trust in myself, I would be able to take more risk in initiating connections with people that I want to connect to and be willing to face the fear of rejection.
Mm, thank you. So let's pretend that was 4 minutes. And once again, we'll be guided by Yosi to the final section or almost final section, where each of you gets 4 minutes to reflect. How was this exercise for you, basically? But specifically, how is your level of trust in life and in yourself feeling at the end compared to the beginning of the exercise? Has it been consistent or shifted throughout your life in general? And can you think of anything that contributed to it going up or down? And also, what would be a small step that you could implement that would increase your trustworthiness in your own eyes? Beautiful question. Sort of the rubber meets the road, right? The practice. How can we move forward? So after 4 minutes, then we'll switch to person B, who will answer the same reflection questions. And again, I'm going to paste all this into the chat. So when you're in the breakout room, you can scroll back in the chat and just see all this wording if it's helpful for you. Otherwise, just answer however you feel called to describe your experience of your trust level. Sometimes improvising is very meaningful in these exercises, so don't feel like you have to stick exactly to the wording. And then finally, we'll just have 3 minutes for open conversation between the two of you. How was the exercise? What have you learned? And how do you see similarities or differences between yourself and your partner? So there's some time for open connection. Anything to add, Yosi?
No, I think you did a great job. I see a couple people are not going to be able to join the breakout, or it's too intense, or what have you. I would just say, yeah, follow your guidance. And you could do this on your own if it's too vulnerable. You could do this as a journaling exercise, just reflect on these questions. You could find someone else to do this exercise with on your own at home who might feel more safe. And for those that are watching the recording, you could do this as a journaling exercise on your own. Um, or find a partner that be willing to venture into this territory with you. I know it could be tender and vulnerable. This is, you know, as somebody said here, intense. It's foundational, and so. Any questions?
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. So if you're watching, then we will see you after the breakouts for some shares.
So, but we're gonna first, should we take a 5 minute break and come back?
So welcome back from the breakouts, everyone. I hope you had a good experience. And yeah, Yosi, I think we'd love to have some shares, right?
Yes, yes. I am excited to hear how that was for you, and what you learned, what you discovered about yourself, about trust, about working with trust, how it affected you. These were some deep, uh, intense questions to reflect on. Or maybe it was basic for some of you, who knows? Whatever it is, honor your experience. Would love to hear it.
I guess I
Anka?
can, yeah.
How,
Yeah, it's
how do you pronounce your name?
Anka.
Anka. Okay. Good to see
Yeah,
you, meet
good
you.
to
Thanks.
think. Um, well, I guess I can speak just more generally. Like, I really appreciated my interaction with Nancy and I feel like it was really a beautiful reflection and to listen to her wisdom and just receive that. It was like I feel like I received like a transmission into my own body, and my own being of, in reflecting on the questions, yes, there's like the intellectual exercise of it, but there's also like there was something much more deep that happened for me in terms of what I felt like I received in my body and in my spirit and just like an understanding of how to go deeper with trusting myself and trusting life. And so I feel like in a way it's sort of like we spoke words, but it's sort of beyond words too. So I'm incredibly grateful. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay. So through the words, there was some kind of vibration, frequency, transmission you received, and it impacted you, your body.
Yeah, it's like learning to like what one of the things we were talking about is like trusting through like feeling and the feelings in the body and the nervous system um and what was one of the things she said, like, if I had more trust in myself, I wouldn't, I'm sorry if I'm getting the words wrong, but, I would never let, what's going on outside of me, like, take me away from my own internal
Mhm.
rhythms. And that was really profound and useful for me because sometimes I still do that. And, or any number of different things, right? And I think
Mhm.
that if I really trust myself, it's like I have to trust that my pace is okay and stop beating myself up for like maybe feeling like I'm slower
Hmm.
than the world expects me to be,
Yeah.
and letting that be okay.
So you can kind of follow your own inner guidance, and it impacted your body. So what happened in your body?
I think I feel like my whole body just like lit up. I mean, I had a moment of feeling very emotional, like, but in a good way, like just kind of overwhelmed with emotion.
Hmm.
I think like a relaxation in my nervous system and like breathing deeper, feeling more
Hmm.
open,
Hmm.
more yeah, which
You
feels like the oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say like it feels like the physical expression of trusting.
Hmm. Hmm. So
Yeah.
the words touched you, and in a way, there was more aliveness, this wave of emotion, but at the same time, there was more relaxation. So it's kind of paradoxical, more activation and more relaxation.
Yeah, they can go both together, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Like I don't see emotion as necessarily like, even though it's an activation on one level, I don't see it as a bad thing. Sometimes it's like it's moving energy through that needs to be expressed, and then there's room for more
Hmm.
relaxation after that.
Yeah, so when we're in the flow, we can let the flow take us. So there's flow, but there's also relaxation and ease.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And what's it like to share that with the group?
It feels good. It's like a little vulnerable since I'm new here and I haven't met anyone here before, but
Hmm.
feels good. Yeah,
Yeah, okay. So
grateful.
it's a little vulnerable, but you're trusting enough that you're willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and I have enough trust in myself. I've done that enough times in my life that I've shown up in a group of people that I didn't know and been vulnerable that I know I'm gonna be okay. And I can sense, and this is self-trust, like I can sense when it's a safe space. So
Mhm. Okay,
thank you for creating that.
sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Who else willing to share?
I'd like to share.
Yeah, Natalie, thank you.
So I was partnered with Ava, and I was very happy to have been partnered with her because my last group a couple months ago, my introduction to all of you was with her. And so it was a nice continuation. And, like for me, that's part of like my trust building. And then what the questions did for me was just put into consciousness how much I have grown in my trust in life and in my trust in myself. And I'm really happy about that. And in
Mhm.
particular, the last couple of years, it's been a challenging couple of years with a changing family situation, with a divorce, with my kids going to college and so forth, of really digging deep into myself and also to like the greater universe of like I'm gonna be okay. And and I've lived a lot of life and I'm okay. And so that was nice to, sometimes it's different when I read something or when I journal of when I talk it through with someone else. One, I'm surprised by what comes out of my mouth. And two, just the landing of it in another person and receiving resonance is really nourishing and healing for me. Um, so yeah, that's what I want to share.
Yeah, so being witness, someone holding space that feels safe is impactful. And noticing how you've grown in trust in yourself and in life. So say more, what contributed to that growth?
A shitload of personal growth, personal work. I mean, that's a lot, a lot, a lot.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of support from other people and asking for support And honestly, the courage to keep my heart open and feel the pain of grief, of sorrow, of loss, and each each little pain and sorrow that I felt, it built up my trust of like, yeah, the feeling doesn't last long. It's the intensity that I wanted to avoid, that it's, and just trusting like that we are sensing, feeling beings. And so my purpose is to sense and to feel. And so once I just accepted that mission, so to speak, I just sense and feel, and then I go about my day. And so it's built trust over and over and over again. And lastly was a conversation I had with someone, and we were discussing how trust is a decision. And that really switched something in my brain for me. It was like, oh, I thought trust was based on like evidence of my experience of interactions with people, and not that I am choosing to trust. And if you or somebody else shows up as untrustworthy or unreliable, that's okay, because I'm like I'm I'm empowered in my own trust, in my own sense that I wanted to trust you, and I am taking full responsibility of that.
Yeah. So trust is a choice. And as you make it and trust yourself, you open up even to the pain, then your trust in yourself grows and your capacity to go through life's challenges increases.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Yeah, please go ahead, unmute. I hope I can pronounce your name.
It's okay. It's Anka.
Anka.
Um, it's yeah, I just had a quick comment on like something that you said, Natalie, just about, trust is a decision, um I had a really revealing experience. It was maybe like 10 years ago, this guy that I was dating, and it just revealed to me like the difference in thinking. And he I don't remember how we got on it, but he was saying something like, well, I don't trust people until they prove to me that they're trustworthy. And so it was like that was kind of the decision that he was making about it, like was to not trust until people showed him to. But then like I was like, huh, well, like that's interesting, because I just hadn't even thought of it that way. I was like, well, I just trust unless someone or something gives me a reason not to. And what you said was kind of even beyond that, like it like you're trusting. I mean, I don't know if I'm paraphrasing it right, but like trusting in yourself enough that, even if somebody does something untrustworthy, or whatever, that you're still trusting in the bigger sense. And I just thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah, that we can recover even if someone hurts us or what have you. So trust ourselves, we trust life. That enables us to trust others more. Yeah, and I hearing Alicia, are you saying something? You want to unmute? Can't hear you.
Yes, it it was a very good exercise. I agree about approach from Anki and Natalie. It's about choice, but to arrive from transition from a past experience to a matter of choice, it's switch, and like levels of spiritual intelligence switch. So you have to be ready to do that, and it's not always we're not always ready to recognize that. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not.
Mm-hmm.
That's and for example, with Benjamin, he was very good to talk to. I hope I got him, and that was um, that was nice to deal with somebody to discuss this matter in such a pleasant way. But sometimes people not ready, and that's can be the case, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're all in different places, and trusting ourselves, trusting life allows us to be as we are, where we are, instead of contorting ourselves, trying to be something we're not.
Yeah. But but subject of trust we tackle on this way, but it's much more to it.
It's much what?
It's much more to the concept of trust.
Yeah, there's a lot more to it.
Bigger concept, and we just start our exploration
Yeah.
with this exercise. Thank you to
What
you.
did you discover in your exploration over the years, decades? How has your trust evolved?
Uh, all of the above, whatever we heard, it's issue of confirmation of somebody who have to validate themselves, transition to choice, or not necessarily only choice, but own insight. I would do trust someone or something, no matter what. Uh, why not? Yeah, it's that possibility to have trust no matter what.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I think your consciousness or your energetic space have to be in a way that you're ready to take this leap. And if you're in negative space, you can go to the low levels of trust. That's what I did mention to Benjamin. Sometimes it's not, it's possible to be in a very low levels of trust because of situations. And that's unfortunate or fortunate, because certain situations not gonna allow you to have high level of trust because it's very dangerous spaces and not enough information or enough believe in yourself. And then you have to grow out of that dark spaces, and you go back to your higher self, and then you go back and you grow back to more trust.
Yeah, so
That,
going down eventually gets us
yeah,
back up.
yeah. I don't believe we should just skyrocketing up like I don't know, like space shuttle. We can go also underground sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't recommend that for experiences, but we don't know. Sometimes it happens.
yeah, it's not a
Yeah.
linear process. So we go up, but sometimes we go back down, and that gives us a basis to go even higher.
Mm. That's why I say it's a big subject. We're tackling it a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for facilitating it.
Thank you for participating. Anybody else?
Mm.
Got one or two more. Nancy Ann, please.
Yes. Thank you, Alicia, for what you shared. I think it's really important what you shared. And the word that was vibrating in me while you were talking was belonging, the sense of belonging. And it's one I've been playing with, but I can only play with it in a more holistic context. So it's like, well, physically, where do I belong? Emotionally, where do I belong? I have to really be in the now moment to do this, to find the one that's calling me if I'm in a space of how am I going to get through this? Where am I emotionally? Who am I emotionally? What do I belong to? Mentally, who am I? Spiritually, socially, environmentally, what do I belong to that I connect with and it connects with me? And it's interesting, Yosi, in the beginning, when you mentioned oxytocin, a phrase kept repeating inside of me saying, oxytocin is the bonding molecule that bonds us to life. If I were born as a preemie in an incubator, I would be bonded to the machines and at risk of becoming an addict later because I didn't know what the warmth of being held felt like in my body at that critical time of development. Belonging is complex, just like trust. And so it's at the very roots of everything we do and who we are. So the bottom line question, to not have to look at that whole picture, is what is it in me that needs nurturing now? What roots am I nurturing? It might be in any one of those places. That thing about survival of the fittest, I just described my version of survival of the fittest. Yes, it's strength, but we're not talking just physical strength. We're talking about the roots and of all the potentials of our human capacities that extend well beyond physical. And that's the whole life journey. And we can enter wherever we are.
Yeah. So trust and belonging, they belong together, if I can say so. And what's your sense of belonging or not in this moment? Where do you feel there is belonging for you?
Well, honestly, if I'd be really immediate, I would say it would be with the conversation that I just had with Anka, because the things that I was sharing as my experience having to do with my trust of myself and my life allowed me to say things that have always been true for me, but there was not permission to share them I didn't have a form in which they could be shared, in which they could be received, because my biological internet was online long before the internet was even dreamed of. And I was extremely intelligent and brilliant. And people said, "You can't do that. You don't know what you're talking about." And so I said, "I don't need to change anybody. I'm not interested in that." So I just tried to be a living example. And when they didn't want me there anymore, either they kicked me out or left. Kind of like your example, Yossi, with your thing. It's but there's a part of us that always belongs, and in those all those unfortunate places where people thought I don't know what they thought I was. That was none of my business. I didn't want to go there. It eventually just stripped all that stuff away. It never was me. And I just got really artful at not accepting people's projections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but with Anka, you had a sense of belonging. You were received, and
Precisely, yes.
that gave you permission to express and be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the very things that I have recently declared, there is a form, there is a way, and I will continue to share it because it's extremely valuable for anyone who has made a choice or a decision that they trust themselves enough. They really want to understand the evolution their own nervous system is going through, because we're all on an evolutionary journey with our nervous systems being upgraded for these really challenging times so that we can move through life with greater ease. That's my life purpose. I bring peace wherever I go, regardless of what people do with what I say or don't say. I just want to radiate what's true for me. That's all.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay. Anybody want to do another quick share. We're trying to get you out on time here. Try and be reliable so you can trust us in the future. Anybody who hasn't shared want to say a few words? Love to hear your voice. No pressure. Only a small one. No. Okay. Well, we appreciate your presence here and your participation. And we'll just announce our next event, which is going to happen in next month in September.
Yes, and next month our theme will be presence. I saw what you did there, Yosi, appreciating our presence here, tying it into the next theme.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about presence very briefly?
Well, as it's been said, life is what's happening while we make other plans. Without being present, we just can't appreciate, enjoy, share, belong. So I think, there's our individual presence, and then there's the presence that holds and surrounds us all the time. So there's my presence in this moment. And yeah, thank you, Natalie. And then if you could just take a moment, perhaps you could feel the field that surrounds us right now. The presence surrounds the body, behind the heart, above the head, the air, the light, the space. So what happens when you feel your presence and the greater presence? What's it like to be in this field of presence? So we'll explore that and more. We'll see how to get present. We have our monkey minds, and we're all, obviously, a lot of us, me included, spend our time ruminating about the past, planning the future, all of which can be important and necessary, but can we do that with more presence, more intentionality? And life gets richer. And that's the present.
What a gift.
What a gift.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Wonderful to be together.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.